Lovely to see everyone coming.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to have a look at people coming in, and we'll start in a minute or so because we don't have a lot of time, and we're going to record it for people that aren't able to make it. So,
Marilyn here, I'm just testing you can hear me.
yes, we can hear you now, Marilyn.
Can't see you though.
No, we can't see you. Okay, so I'm going to start now. And I just want to say, I'm Deanne Reyes, and I work with the Metavision Institute, and really happy to work alongside amazing people. So I'm going to introduce who's with us today that works in the Institute. So it will be Kate, and Kate's in administration, and Marilyn. Marilyn's our new academic director. So hi, Marilyn, and obviously Christina, which I'm going to pass on shortly. But we'll just wait for people to come in. And I can see that Austin, who's going to be a graduate, is here. Hi, Austin.
Hi, Dee.
Hi.
Hi, Christine.
Yeah, so we had around 30 people sign up. So hopefully we'll get a bit more than this, but it usually takes a few minutes for people to come in. So just to acknowledge that as well. So what we're going to bring today is Christina's going to present some slides and talk about Metavision and welcome everybody as well. And we do have another graduate coming, which is Chris Skidmore. He won't be here till a bit later. And Kate's going to talk about enrollments and what that looks like as well. But if you have any questions, then we'd love for you to put it in the chat, and I'll try and sort of tell Christina as they come up when she's speaking as well. We'll try and get some time with that, but there will be a Q&A as well at the end. So we'll give you guys space to be able to have a discussion on things that you need to know about. Yeah. So right now, let me pass the baton and press the slideshow to Christina.
Hey, thanks, Dee. Thank you. Where's the slideshow?
Coming.
Coming. Okay. So Metavision, the Metavision Institute. So where the term Metavision came from some work I was doing with junior doctors, where I was asked to do a supervision for them as they rotated through the palliative care unit. And I thought, I'm not doing supervision. What is it? It's Metavision. That's where the name came from. And then thinking about what is Metavision. It's a vision above, a below, all around. It's a holistic way of seeing that the whole is more than the sum of the parts, and that everything's interconnected. So that was the beginning of Metavision. Next slide, Dee, please. So this year, 2024, we're celebrating 20 years of Metavision having being in existence and having classes. So for 20 years we've run classes, and for 2 years less than that, we have had graduates going out into the world. And the way Metavision began was by students that I was teaching in a different course came to an open day that I had at the at a centre I'd started, and they said to me, "Why don't you teach here?" And I thought, "What?" and then anyway, it was the impetus to begin, and I thought, how do I do it? How do I put together a curriculum that is a Metavision curriculum? And I thought about all the things that I'd studied and that had been influential in my development, and that I've seen practiced and worked with in my own clinical experience, and drew on that. So that's where Metavision started, and it started in Bowral in the Southern Highlands. And we offer now a specialist training in holistic counselling and psychotherapy, a graduate diploma and masters, which are postgraduate higher education accredited courses. We offer the foundational counselling skills and the holistic counselling skills.
Christina, if you could just say a little bit more about your background and what you started with. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was a child, I spent a lot of time outside. I think that really helps. And I had a desire to help people and work with people, and decided to study social work at university. And I was very excited about the psychology until I got there and found that it was actually a very dry subject. But it was only part of the social work degree. Social work at that time was considered to be a holistic approach. But for me, it didn't seem holistic enough. So I went on looking for things that were more holistic. And that took me to study Chinese medicine. And that took me to travel the world and to study in England and come across the work of Rudolf Steiner and his spiritual science, which is also very holistic. And working with those sorts of things and putting it all together with the social work background. And then I was working in a Relationships Australia in Wollongong, and I could see people that I was working with from my Chinese medical background had more than talking therapy alone would do. And I thought, how do you put this all together? And that took me to process-oriented psychology, the work of Arnold Mindell, where he really incorporates a great deal. And he's incorporated quantum physics, Eastern spirituality, and the depth work of Jungian psychology and many other things. So I studied that, and I've put it all together in my own way, and that's what's created Metavision. Thanks, Dee. Next one. So why holistic? The physicist David Bohm, he wrote Wholeness and the Implicate Order, Man's Search for Meaning, said in 1980 that fragmentation now is very widespread, not only through, can't see it all, Dee, not only through society, but also in each individual. And this is leading to a kind of general confusion of the mind, which creates an endless series of problems and interferes with our clarity of perception so seriously as to prevent us from being able to solve most of them. That's quite a statement. And I think that it is the fragmentation, the separation of things, one from the other, and looking at them in a reductionist way that has its virtues, and it also has its limitations. And if you think that's the only thing, then the limitations start to show. And this is what David Bohm is pointing to, that we lose touch with everything that we're a part of. And that creates dissonance, separation, depression, anxiety, and all sorts of problems that it's hard to, that we're seeing today, and we're seeing it multiply, actually. Dee, next one.
Yeah, so can I just ask, if anyone's put anything in the chat? I can't see the chat, Kate, so can you please keep an eye on that?
Great. And speak up if there is. Thank you. So, so for me, the question was, what am I working with when I'm working, whether it's in Chinese medicine or counseling, psychotherapy, or engaging with another person? Who is it that I'm working with, and how can I see that person as an integrated whole of body, soul, and spirit, etc.? And not only seeing the person as a physical object, living being, but as someone with feeling, thoughts, and energy, subtle energy. And I'd certainly learned about the subtle energy through Chinese medicine, but it's present in the field whenever we're working together. And even here now, with us all coming together, we're in a field together. We could tap into that. It's one of the things that we do at Metavision, is really become aware of the field that we're sitting in. And that field has lots of effects on us too. It's the people around us, but it's also the times in which we live, all of what's going on, not only for us, but for the earth and for other people. So all those things are sort of in a way present in any engagement that we have with another. And what is important is to be able to sense into that and read the subtle signals that can arise in a person, in their energy field, and in the field together. And that will point you to the process that's living in a person at the moment, the person that you're with, that's wanting to unfold. And the skill that we develop is to be able to read those subtle signals and signs so that it's possible to facilitate the unfolding of a process that's present here now and that's leading somewhere in a person's life. And that somewhere has a rightness about it, because as quantum physics says, and Aristotle says, there's a teleological movement that is moving towards something. What it's moving towards is not the important thing, it's the movement. How can we read the signals that are indicating where whatever's going on for someone, what they come into a psychotherapy or counseling situation with is a lot of is a message, is a lot of information that we can start to pick up and unfold and help to help the person recognize where they're needing to go. To do this, we need to be able to work with different levels of awareness simultaneously, our everyday reality, our secondary, more subconscious reality, and the deeper levels that are more essence level of who we are and what's going on, to be able to work at these three levels and to be able to facilitate the parts that are showing themselves to help the process move forward. So we see ourselves as a facilitator and not an expert of another person's condition. One of the things we don't do is diagnose, really. We can hear diagnoses that people come with, and that can indicate to us the symptoms that the person may be exhibiting and give us pointers. But actually, what we're doing is working with the person in the moment who's present with us in this moment together. D, next one. So the Metavision experience. It's interesting in working with a person and unfolding a process that's present in a person now is a wonderful training, but it also isn't only for being able to work with the person individually, but it actually is present when we come together as a group, and it's present in the Metavision experience. So the things that we do is work to establish a crucible of learning, I like to say, and a warm-hearted field that we're entering into as students and studying in, that is supportive, encourages people to take risks, make mistakes and learn from them, and also is something that is created by all the people that are there together. So in this field, we bring, in the intensives, we bring a an attempt to really work with the group as a whole. And that's also part of the Metavision experience. And we're working holistically with our education as well as the therapy. One of the things that people like about the school, I think, is that we're small. We're a small organization, really. And so it means that it's more personable, and we can emphasize the need to create and cultivate congruent relationships. And also it creates this crucible of learning where people rub up against each other, find the things that they love or find difficult with another, and see themselves reflected back. It's all very rich, a very rich learning experience. So people, I've been doing a lot of interviews lately for students coming in, and I often ask, what's drawn you to Metavision? And often they say it's the holistic nature of what you're doing. It's also, they say they want a more experiential and interpersonal experience. And they are the things that we offer. Next one, Dee. Beyond graduation. Maybe I could say a little bit more about what draws people, because I had an interesting interview with someone a couple of days ago, and it was a woman coming from South Africa. We do have people from all over coming, and this woman, South African woman, has done a psychology degree in England with honours and come back to South Africa, and she really wanted to take her work further. And she looked all around the world, in fact, for a course that she wanted to do. And she found ours, and she said, I know this is what I really want to do. And that's what a lot of people actually say. And it's an interesting statement, because how do you know? What I think is important is to feel if you're pulled, if you're drawn to this, because that's actually a spiritual event that's happening. There's something showing you your own pathway, and it takes courage to follow that. Another person I was having an interview with today is someone that did the course actually with you, Austin, and she was very sad that she pulled out of that group because it was a wonderful group, and she's now wanting to come back. She says it's still been there, this pull, this draw towards Metavision, because I know it's right for me somehow. That's that knowing, that's our spiritual wisdom speaking to us.
So can we go to the next slide, because that is actually, Chris isn't here yet, but we can talk about the alumni, and it talks about that in the next slide.
Okay. So it's what calls you. What are your, if you think about what are your hopes and what are your fears? And I know it's a challenge. The course isn't a walk in the park. It's full on. People often say it's like doing therapy, because we work experientially and we do a lot of inner work, because it's the inner knowing and the inner guidance that is the essence of what we're doing. So I guess that feeling that pull, then also it brings up the challenges. How do we tackle those challenges? Again, through listening to your soul's desires, and how your inner voice speaks to you, and it needs courage and dedication to keep going and to keep doing the work. We often have people say, oh, I just think I'm going to drop out. And then they get through. And I mean, they get a fair amount of support from us in doing so. And at the end, they say, I'm so glad I stayed. And it's just amazing. I feel such a different person now at this point, at the conclusion of the course.
So I'm wondering, Christina, if we can ask Austin to share his experience as a graduate coming into graduation. Yeah.
Good.
You can ask me.
Can you answer?
So, like it sings to me this idea of listening, like this deep listening to what it is that you've been brought towards. And for me, this was the nuts and bolts of Metavision. There was a part of me that was looking for something, and I was really clear that I was looking for something, and I was really clear that I needed to be led because I didn't know what it was, and I landed in Metavision. And it's not all a bed of roses, but I don't know anything that really is, but it changed my world in how I perceive me in the world. And what I mean by that is it allowed me to open up my perspective into things that I was very limited in. And so playing in the field, which Christina referenced to earlier on, allows for this expansion of oneself. And it's been, for me, it's been really transformative. I'm not a plant here. I just happen to turn up. I actually don't even know why I'm here. But I love the work, and it asked a lot of me. And in that sense, it's not easy, but it is rewarding on the other side of it. And it's transformative. It's probably transmuting rather than transformative for me. Yeah, and that working with other people, you know, getting to know things that are really alive in you, maybe that have been dormant for a while. It's really difficult to wrap it up because it's been 2 years that it feels like as if it's been a lifetime of work.
2 years is quite short.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and it is a packed curriculum. You know, we start with looking at what's counseling and psychotherapy and where does it sit in the world and what are the influences on our approach, because there are a number of influences. And then we do inner work. We do a lot of inner work. We start each day with some inner work, but we also have 2 units of inner work that are requiring particular reflections. We look at what is the holistic human being? How do we develop a holistic perception? And then we start with process-oriented psychology. That's the first semester. And if you join us, that's what you'll be introduced to at the first intensive, which starts on the 11th of March. Then in the second semester, we take the process work deeper and we start looking at unfolding the message in body symptoms, which is just amazing work, which is what I was looking for when I was working at Relationships Australia and could see things in people that needed to be unfolded, but I didn't know how to do it in the regular talking therapy methods. And so process work is very good for that. And then we also look at dreams, unfold messages in dreams, relationships, conflict. We look at rank, power, and privilege. It's a very important topic. Power is a huge topic at the moment. And then also in the second semester, everyone does a placement of 100 hours and of working somewhere. If you've got a practice of your own, you can deepen your own work there to some degree. We have a placement officer who's not able to be here today, but she'll be able to help you. And we focus on really getting to the point where it's possible to work with a variety of things that come up for people by unfolding the process that's present rather than being overwhelmed by a disease or a diagnosis, but seeing what is it for this unique person in front of me now. So does anyone have any questions at this point? I can't see everyone. No?
Doesn't look like there's any questions.
Okay.
So did you want to speak more into what you know about what the alumni are doing since they've graduated?
Yes, okay. We've got a lot of alumni. They're going out into the world, working in such a diverse range of places. One of the things that I feel is very important is that you develop your own style of working. We offer the information and we offer various viewpoints, but it's for you to make it your own and digest it together with what you already have. The majority of the students that we have coming towards us are mature age people. And there is such an incredible quality of student and such a rich source of learning that each person can bring. So people take up different areas of interest. There's one woman, for example, who's actually our alumni rep, Nula Diamandopoulos. She was a mosaic artist when she came into our course, and she's combined art and the Metavision approach. We do have a Metavision model that's, that's very young and developing and needs research done around it. Hoping students can do that sometime. And what Nula has done is really put together her artistic work with all the things that you learn at Metavision. And she was invited by the ABC to join Studio 21, where they got a number of high-profile actors and people who had mental health issues and brought them to Studio 21, and they used a range of different methods, and Nula's was one of them. People tend to find that, employees tend to find that when a Metavision graduate works for them, they like it. And when they've left, sometimes they've said, we want another one with your training, They go into private practice, into jobs, deepen work that they've already doing in the medical field, any field, the allied health professions, in teaching, in so many places. And you can also, this work also gives you a lot of skills to work in teams and to take it into corporate areas and to work in conflict. And I know work I've done, I've had local schools send me teachers, for example, who are having conflict in their team and it's disrupting the team and they want the conflict worked with. And so there's great skills for working with that. And the work I did with the junior doctors, you can take this in so many different places, because what we're doing is giving a foundation with a structure that allows you to go deep quickly to be able to work with whatever's present. And when I was asked to work with the junior doctors, I'd been doing supervision for the social workers, and for some of the nurses and some of the consultants, but I hadn't done it as a group. I thought, how do I do this? And I thought, I just apply the principles that I already have. And that's it. You apply the principles, the foundation that you get here, and it can go to such a diverse range of applications. So there's questions here.
Yeah, so Anna has asked about the course structure, content hours and classes throughout the semester, and the number of intensives, so the logistics of how the course is run. Did you want to answer that?
Who would answer that?
Did you want to answer that? Or?
Me? Or okay, I certainly can. Just say them again.
Course structure?
The course structure is that it's a mixed mode of delivery. We have a intensive at the beginning of the year, another one in the middle of the year, and a shorter one at the end of the year to wrap the year up. And the same pattern is repeated in the following year. At the intensive, it's 6 days, and it's not called the intensive for no reason. And we introduce the first 4 units. Then you go home with a study buddy or study buddies and connection with your cohort. The cohort is a very important part of your learning environment. Adults, a lot of research shows that adults learn best in peer discussion, peer work. peer groups. So then you go home with work to do, and we have an e-learning platform. We call it Sophia, after the goddess of wisdom. And you work with the tasks that are there, with the resources that are there. You contact your study buddies. We have tutorials. We have contact with the course coordinators to help you understand the assignments that you get. There are written assignments, there are experiential assignments. We encourage you to listen inwardly and include your own experiences. So then I've mentioned already the placement. What were the other questions, Dee?
So classes throughout the semester, so the tutorials that we have?
There are classes. We don't have them at a set time because a lot of people are working at different times. So we try to find out what's going to work best, and we always record them, so that if you can't come to a tutorial or a class or a catch-up group, you can always watch the recording. Yep, and we really encourage you to work very regularly with your study buddies or study group. Could you say anything about that, Austin?
Sure.
Your experience?
I think it's, for me, it was absolutely critical to carve out time to work in a dyad or a triad. The study buddy group is just where so much of the experiential aspect of what you've learned can be. You can be either the client or the therapist in that, and so you get it from like both angles, and that's a really great experience, being either the therapist or the client. And it's foundational for me, and I know the study buddies that I worked in, it was really foundational for us. And so we set up a time, and it's a little bit like a non-negotiable. We set it up, and we were so into the study and into the work that we said, this is going to be the time, and this is when we're going to turn up. So we were turning up for each other because we all gained from it. And on top of that, we, in my cohort, we set up a WhatsApp group where we all had the capability of jumping online at the same time and working together. One of the outcomes of that is that now the work that I'm doing in a really new field, this is all new to me, is co-design and co-facilitation. And I think that's been born out of my experience working in study buddy groups.
Thanks.
So are you looking at questions, or would you like me to?
You keep going, Dee. Yeah.
Okay, so the logistics about doing placement while working full time. Some people do them in chunks, like they might do them in their holidays. But yeah, so they do them on the weekend. It's just what will work for you. I would say if you work full time, it might be, if you can, to try and negotiate with your employment to have one day off at least, to be able to fit the work in if you're studying full time.
It is quite a demanding course, and it is considered full time, but a lot of people work. But to work full time, you'd need to be, you'd need to be well organized.
I think around 3 days of work.
2 to 3. Yeah.
2 to 3 days of work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, and the practical experience Austin spoke about, and that is done in the intensive as well. You get to work in triads or dyads, and throughout the semester with your study buddies.
Yeah, weekend work is a possibility. Small groups, and that does the course contain? Working in small groups. How many hours of study per week? Actually, we did a survey. Reese did a survey very recently asking the students as they finished the course how many hours a week they felt they'd done. They'd been working, and it really varied from, I think I saw one person said 6 or 8 and another said 20 or more. So it depends on the amount of time you've got, how efficient you are, how quickly you read, how long you take to do assignments. Yeah, people do it differently.
And the study buddy work is really valuable to help out with that, because you can discuss the books that you're reading.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, and that helps like embed the learning.
Yeah. And share the reading. Perhaps we could open up we don't need to use the PowerPoint anymore.
Sure.
We'll get Kate to talk about enrollment, etc. so shortly, so we can see everyone. That's great. Yeah. Any other questions anyone got? Anyone has? No.
Are you sure, everybody? We'd love to hear your voice.
Yes, I saw a hand up.
Yes.
Hi
Oh,
everyone.
yes, good, very
Hi,
good. Can you
Can you
just
all hear me?
Yeah, could you
Yeah.
just pronounce your first name?
Yes, absolutely. I had a chat with Deanne a couple of days back, and I was saying that it's always an icebreaker for me. So the K isn't silent, but just for ease, if you treat it silent and start with the S, Shittage.
Shidij. Thank you, Shidij.
Pleasure, no problem.
Thank you.
Firstly, thank you for organizing this session. Very, very informative. And thank you, Austin, for sharing your experience. It's always good to hear from someone who's undergoing that course, what their experience is like. Listening to all of the information you guys have shared and Austin has shared, I think I'm just, in my mind, I was trying to piece the whole picture together. So the study buddy and the cohort, the experiential bit of the course, the reading and the learning on the e-platform of the books.
Yep.
Does all of that fit together and then comprise that 2 to 3 days per week that you guys were alluding to? Is
Yes.
all of that okay?
Yep. And of course, in the intensives, there's 6 days there.
Yeah, and which means for someone like me who's working full time, that means I'm going to have to take leave from my work and be in that intensive for those 6 days full time.
Yep. Preferably, yes.
Yeah, and in terms of the course itself, so is it fair for me to assume the 2 to 3 days is what the full time means? Because I'm working full time, and one of the first things I want to do is I want to pace this out because it's a calling. I'm not forcing myself to do this, and I want to enjoy this course. I don't want to overwhelm myself, and I really want to get the maximum out of it if I, choose to go with this. So the first thing that always comes to my mind is, unless I'm enjoying this, it's always going to be a forced thing, and I so don't want to overwhelm myself at all.
Yeah.
So given I'm working full time, I have responsibilities to take care of, but at the same time, I'm steering myself in a different direction because I'm done with what I'm doing in my career at the moment. So I'm trying to work all of those things out. What is the recommendation if you're working full time? Is the recommendation, just based on your experience and everything you've heard from all of your alumni and current students, is the recommendation to go part time, or is there a possibility to still be able to do it full time with your full time job and not overwhelm yourself?
It depends on you, but what would really help is if there's times you can take some time off to allow yourself to have the breathing space that allows you to enjoy it. Because if you're feeling a pressure all the time, then it does become not so enjoyable. And it's wonderful when you say this is a calling and that you want to enjoy it and you want to get the most out of it. So you're motivated. That's beautiful. And to be able to juggle that then with your work will be up to you, and to read what you need as you go along. It's impossible to really say what you're going to need because, as I said, there's a huge range in the amount of time that people spend doing this work, but the more you give it, the more you get out of it, really, to a degree, you know.
Can
And
I also
it's work at night, of course. You do study buddy work and things like that at night. Yeah.
Can I also add that this is the first year we're starting to offer part-time? So people have done it while working full-time, but it would be good if you could negotiate with your employer to take 1 day off per week, if that's possible, because we want you to look after yourself at the same time too.
To work it out yourself, what would work, you know.
Sure, thank you for that. So just a quick question on that last point that you made, Dee. If because it's already something at the back of my mind in terms of, you know, taking at least 1 day off from work. If I were to consider that sort of an option, because I'm certainly getting a feel that it's a full-on course, and it needs to be a full-on course. I completely get it. And that's where I think in my mind I'm trying to work out, if I go in that sort of an arrangement, would it then open up the probability of me doing it full time amplify compared to, you know, me considering a part-time option?
Good question, but like Christina said, I think that's something that you need to work out for yourself, because only you know what your life looks like as well. So
Yes.
yeah, it's something that you may need to sort of organize and work out. And I think Austin was going to say something as well. So
Just my experience doing the course, I suppose I was a little bit fortunate, but working in the cohorts, there's examples of one of the girls birthed two kids during the course, so she had no time off. And it really, so she was one of my study buddies, and it really called on her to understand how she learns in the most efficient way. The great thing about Metavision for me is the flexibility that it allows. I went to university, and systems can be fairly rigid within the university model. So it's really kind of understanding how you learn best. That was really critical for many of us, because many of us were working full time, and it's carving out a few hours here and a few hours there, and using all the resources. And the resources are books, other people, podcasts, etc., just to keep learning and to stay in that space. That's part of the inner work, I reckon, is to figure out how you best learn.
That's a
And the flexibility of Metavision was phenomenally important for most of us, because there's times that there's themes or subject matters that we can cruise through because our experience of them is a lot greater than others. And then there's other topics that might be a little bit more require more of us, and so that can slow us down. That's where Metavision, being open in our communication style to Metavision to say this is what we need. So just to be, I suppose, to be open in your communication style with who you need to be is really important.
Great. Thank you. I really appreciate all those answers. Thank you.
Also, as Austin was saying, certain topics, one of the questions that I ask in the interview is, or say that this can be an emotionally demanding course, because the topics we're doing touch us all, and we're working with ourselves as clients and therapists, but we're being touched. So it can be emotionally demanding. And in particular areas, it can be more so, we can get a bit derailed occasionally, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And then we also ask that you have at least 20 sessions of counseling or psychotherapy with somebody. Doesn't always have to be somebody working with our model or a process-oriented approach, but it's good that you have some, because then you get you learn so much from being on the receiving end of a good therapist.
thanks, Christina. Anna's raised her hand.
Good, Anna.
Thanks. This is probably a question again for Austin, but I'm just curious, as someone who's coming up to the end of the program and graduating, how equipped do you feel to work in the field of psychotherapy and counseling?
You're on mute, Austin.
How equipped do I feel? I've decided that this is my calling for now. And so there's a phenomenal amount that I don't know. But what I have learned through the course is some skills and some innate qualities that I bring, right? And even that as a learning is phenomenal in of itself. The uniqueness of who I am that each one of us that's here has as well. And that's an aspect of what we bring. And to accept ourselves coming into a session, I think is really important. What it's done for me, it's really funneled me into areas of greater passion than others. So for example, a passion for me is around somatic work and trauma. So that's what this course has allowed me to do. And I'm interested in phenomenology. So it's really just kind of honed me into certain things. And I feel ill-equipped every day, but the course has allowed me to feel that and still be able to do it because I don't know what's going to present. And I come from a background where everything's very quantifiable. I come from a science background, so everything's quantifiable. In this is asking us to have an awareness of who we are, where we never know how good of a job we've done. And I think that was a really huge conversation for my cohort to have. And I don't know if I'm speaking out of school, but it allowed us to really open up ourselves to discomfort, like a little bit of discomfort that I'm here going, I wasn't expecting to talk. I was just expecting to sit in the background. So I feel equipped, and that's why I'm doing it. Am I the finished article? Will never be that.
No.
And I'll just add to that, it's a lifelong learning, I mean, I did it many years ago and I'm still learning today.
I think there's another aspect to it too, that I applied when starting Metavision, when these students asked me if I'd teach. And I thought, my goodness, like you expressing, Austin, you were taken by surprise and I didn't expect to be doing that. And I thought, well, I'll just try it and I'll read the feedback. I'll see what happens and read the feedback. In this work, reading the feedback accurately is a very important part of the training. And so I kept reading the feedback and we're still here today. So that says something too, that it's not just up to us. It's certainly not up to us to change anybody. It's up to us to be present for somebody when they're going through whatever they go through, and their own process unfolds and is often the healing. And it needs skill from us, but it doesn't need us to know everything at all, because we can't. And we can't know, I don't know what's going to be the right thing for you, but we discover it as we start to work and we read the signals and we read the feedback and we hold the space and allow the work to unfold. And that's what's so exciting about it and rewarding.
Thanks, Christina. I was wondering if we can get Kate to talk about Kate, can you also talk about our induction, or well, not induction, but how we're having a meet and greet for new students as well?
Yes. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see everyone's faces. I've spoken to a few of you and chatted to a lot of you over email, and yeah, it's nice to put faces to names. So welcome. I look after all the enrollments, so that's why you have all been speaking with me. So if you are feeling like you're ready to enroll, that's fantastic. If you feel like you might want another chat with Dee or myself, please reach out and we can set that up. Sometimes it's nice to just talk through things. Or if you have any other questions that you're not quite comfortable asking here, please let us know. And then when you are ready to enroll, there is an enrollment button on all of our pages on our website, or you can just message me or call me and I can send it to you. So once you enroll, we ask you to fill out as much detail as you can on your enrollment. And then we ask you to pay your application fee. And once you've done that, we set you up with an interview with Christina, which is always fun for her. So she gets to have a good chat with you and talk about what you want from Metavision, what your goals are, your past experiences and so forth. So the more information you can give us, the more Christina can help you out and guide you in the right direction there. So once your interview is over, I will send you all your forms, your enrollment forms, your payment plans and so forth, your acceptance. You can send them all back to me. We set up your payment plan and it's basically that simple. So it's nice and easy for you. If you have any questions along the way, you just reach out. I'm here to help. We do have a meet and greet Zoom coming up on the 30th of January for all of our new enrollments. So we are trying to encourage everybody to get their enrollments done by then so they don't miss out on that. It's a great way to meet all the other students, some of the teachers, some of the staff at Metavision. And any other questions that you have, you can bring up at that particular call as well. I did want to speak into the part-time option. If you do want to start part-time, please just let me know on enrollment. And you also have the option to start part-time and then switch to full-time at the end of any year. So that is an option. I've had quite a few students thinking that's the pathway they're going to take, see how they go for the first year and then move into full-time if they feel like that's something that they can handle. So that's the option.
And the
as well.
deadline, Sarah's asking what's the deadline for enrollments?
Deadline for enrollments is the end of February. Because the intensive starts the first day of the semester, the 11th of March. So we'd need to get you set up in the system. We'd need to make sure you've got all your details for the intensives and just give you a little bit of leadway. So end of February is the deadline. All the pricing is on the website. We do payment plans, fortnightly, monthly, per semester, credit card and bank transfer. So we're pretty flexible. So you just got to reach out and ask any questions that you have, and we're more than happy to set it all up for you. Did anyone have any questions about enrollments or payments or anything along those lines? Nope, I covered it all. Great.
Anything else? Any questions on anything else? Any reflections? Yes, Sally.
I just have a question with regard to the intensive as well, just a practical question. Is there accommodation there that's already we can stay at, or do we have to organise our own accommodation, or how does that work?
Yeah, you'd have to organise your own accommodation. There are Airbnbs and there's other places around. There is actually a nice, if you're driving and you've got a car, there's a nice place in Mittagong, which is a Steiner place that's nice to stay at, called Harmony, and Kate will give you the details and that's very affordable as well.
Yeah, they're doing a deal for us where I think it's $90 for a twin share room or $120 for a private room, and it comes with a shared kitchen and private bathroom and so forth. So that's like student accommodation that a lot of people choose.
Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
And the intensives now are held in Mossvale at the University of Wollongong's campus. We used to hold it at the Harmony Village at this place, but it doesn't have the right zoning that's required, so we've had to move. And the Wollongong campus is also nice, but doesn't know accommodation. One of the things that I would encourage is that you get in touch with fellow students early on so that you can maybe set up sharing an Airbnb or ride shares, things like that, you know, and start to get to know people can be helpful, especially at these meet and greets you're organising. There's another one in February, isn't there?
Yes, we'll hold a second one in February closer to the date. But yes, definitely be holding one on the 30th of January as well. So you might get 2 chances to meet everybody if you're enrolled.
Mm.
Can I just ask a question about the intensives?
Mm.
If you're a part-time student or you decide to take that option, is there still the 3 intensives that need to be attended to during the year? And I know you said it's preferable that you attend all of them because of the personalised experience of, I guess, the therapeutic value of being in the intensive. So if you could speak to that, that would be great.
Oh, sorry, go Dee.
So you go, Kate.
Yeah.
Go, because this is the first time we've offered part-time, so I'd like
Yeah,
to...
it is. And you will need to attend all 3, but they are only 3 days, the first 3 days of every intensive. And then the full-timers will stay for the last 3 days. Just the way the scheduling is, we can't really do it any other way than that because the schedule has to flow with the full-timers. So yeah, so it'll be 3 days, 3 intensives a year.
And if you can't attend an intensive, we do record it. So it's not the end of the world. I think we're trying to encourage, I mean, COVID taught us that we can actually do it all online, but it's not desirable. It's not the most desirable thing. And also PACFA require that we have PACFA, the Psychotherapy and Counselling Federation of Australia, with whom the course, the master's program is accredited, require that there's 170 something days of face-to-face learning. So that has to be covered over the 2 years or the 4 years if it's a part-time course.
Yeah. So definitely attend the first intensive.
If you can.
And you do, then you'll just want to keep going back. So that'll be fine. Okay, so are there any more questions before we sign off? And I just want to thank everyone for coming.
Before we sign off, I'd like to just ask Marilyn, Dr. Marilyn Childs, who's our new academic head, if you would say a word or two, Marilyn.
Hello, folks. It's nice to meet you all. Been in the job 3 days. So I think that the best thing I can say is that everything that I hear about this course is fantastic. The people who do it and the outcomes that they're achieving. My role in relationship to the course really is to be there for you to know that you've got consistency of support when it comes to governance, assessment matters, have any issues, things like that. So I'll just be plodding along there in the background. If you join us this year and you complete in 2 years, I'll be there for your journey. And including for those of you who've been here for 4 years. So we're hoping for some solid consistency in processes and relationships. I hope I see you at the meet and greet.
Thank you, Marilyn. Lovely to hear from you.
Beautifully said. Thank you.
And that's, I mean, my focus has been on developing the curriculum, and then students were saying that they felt that the quality of the course and the work that they were doing wasn't getting enough recognition. And the whole industry of counselling and psychotherapy is really growing up, becoming more mature as a profession in its own right, separate to psychology, social work, medicine, any of the other fields that use some sort of talking therapy. And so in this space that is growing up, there's a need for higher standards. And so we have taken the big step for a little organisation like us to go for higher education and get all the governance and requirements there in place. And this is where Marilyn is so helpful to assure you that it's at the right levels.
Thank you, Christina.
So Chris Skidmore hasn't turned up, but Austin's done a great job.
I've done a great job, yes.
That's the way things go. You live with what's present in the moment. That's it.
Austin stepped in.
Austin stepped in wonderfully. You were called, Austin.
I must have been.
Coming. And thank you to everybody for coming, and we hope to hear from you soon. So thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.